First of all, the terms agreement, peace, solution, those are all Western terms that doesn't align with Middle East society. Here, it's a desert society, and it's all about tribes. And if you have here in the Middle East, if you have someone that is not afraid of you, then you better start afraid of them. And Hamas wasn't afraid of us. This is why they committed October 7th. And Hezbollah wasn't afraid of us. This is why they committed. This is why they joined the party. Although they're late, but on October 8th, you had the first Coronet missile that been shot inside Israel, and the Houthis and Iran and etc. etc. So I see this agreement as just as Sisi, the president of Egypt, just the way he sees it. And he said, and I quote, "You, meaning you, Israel, you, the Western world, you're doing peace agreements, in order to get to your result, because this is the result that you want to achieve. I do peace agreements because this is just merely a tool in order to get to my true end goal, which is not a secret, never was, the destruction of the state of Israel, the spread of radical Islam all across Israel as the first stop, just like Yehuda said, and then of your hometown in the UK, and then in the States. And it actually happens, but it happens with suits and ties, with Mamdani in New York City, or with Queen English level at Piers Morgan's show, with people that are actually advocating for terrorism, taking mistakes that IDF is committed, and we are doing mistakes, as if there were like something that could represent how we actually fight in the battlefield. So to me, I feel it's a day of mixed feelings.
Yeah. I want to touch on that a bit more, because I think at the heart of a lot of that propaganda of the idea that Israel is committing war crimes or is committing genocide or is intentionally killing children, all of this kind of stuff, at the heart of it are two problems. Is one, that people don't understand the reality of war, that war is quite literally hell, and there is no way to carry out a war where people don't get hurt. There has not been a war in history where civilians have not been hurt, and there has also not been a war in history where a lower ratio of civilians have been hurt than this one. And so what I find so bizarre is, not bizarre, but also indicative of how powerful the anti-Israel propaganda machine is you can have an army that is as careful as Israel, that makes the American army and the British army and European armies and any army in the history of the world look absurd. Like the number of civilians who were killed in World War I, World War II, in the Iraq War, the number of civilians that have been droned randomly by the American military, and people don't even look up from their breakfast. But then you've got Hamas, who have made the murder of children, because it is murder when we're talking about Hamas, because they are intentionally placing children in harm's way. And that is flipped as to murder committed by Israel. That is the battle I'm trying to have, of trying to convince people that war is terrible. You cannot have a war where there are no civilian casualties. But it is so hard to get people to answer that question. How do you have a war without civilian casualties when one side, Hamas and the other Palestinian terrorist organizations, they benefit from every civilian death? How do you fight that war? I don't think there's an answer to it. You cannot fight that war. You're fighting with two hands tied behind your back, because civilian deaths are guaranteed. How have you dealt with that when that question comes up?
I'll jump real quick and I'll give it to Yehuda. I'll just say the first sentence. What you do is what Yehuda taught me to do. You switch from defense to offense. Right, Yehuda? How are we going to do that?
100%. I think, Ian, the world doesn't know how to deal, with a successful minority, going back to anti-Semitism. And we've been so good living in diaspora in America and England and caring about, and no matter what, we are always shown the back and reminded, you're not really welcome here. That's number one. Number two, the world doesn't understand. It's hard for them to see a Jew in an F-35. It's hard for them to see a Jew in an elite unit like Stav and Duvdevan. They don't understand why there's an Israeli flag on a tank, because they're used to their grandparents saying, oh, remember those Jews who lived where my grandparents lived in Feuchtwagen or Munich, and then we fucking killed them. We took them out of their house and we put them in concentration camps, and that wasn't enough. We gassed them. And they dared 6 years later to build a country, and a successful country, and an army, and to win. That's what's going on here. They're not used to us winning. They're not used to us fighting. They're not used to us saying, no matter what, we will go in 1,000 more times whenever, wherever they need us. You have two people here who are vouch for that. And I know, Ian, that you're the same. You're not wearing the green uniform and fighting with the IDF, but you're a fighter. I think you're a Jewish fighter and you're doing your best
Absolutely.
to protect us. So they're not used to it. They're used to us being so apologetic.
Yeah.
And so just see us as the way you see, and we're done with it. We're done. And when we succeed, and no matter what we do, and no matter how we are gentle and we fight back gently, the three of us and many people in the world know that in 3 days we could have ended the war.